Federal agents came to the Little Bohemia Lodge to capture John Dillinger. They never laid a hand on him. Instead, their first gunfire killed an innocent man, the gang escaped through the back of the lodge, and babyface Nelson disappeared alone in the woods. 2 miles away, Nelson took over a house filled with hostages. When 2 federal agents and a local constable arrived, he walked toward their car, asked who they were, and opened fire. Before the night ended, Agent W. Carter Baum was dead and Nelson was escaping in a government automobile. How did a rush raid on Dillinger become the night babyface Nelson made himself one of the Bureau's most dangerous targets? On Friday, April 20th, 1934, Dillinger, Nelson, Homer Van Meter, John Hamilton, Tommy Carroll, and several companions arrived at the Little Bohemia near Manitowish Waters, Wisconsin. Nelson and his wife Helen stayed in a cottage beside the lodge, while Dillinger and several others occupied rooms in the main building. The remote resort appeared to offer a place to rest, but it remained open to the public. On Easter Sunday, about 75 customers came for dinner, while some of America's most wanted bank robbers remained on the property. That morning, Melvin Purvis, head of the Bureau's Chicago office, received a telephone tip from a local resident, Henry Voss, that Dillinger was there. By late afternoon, agents were flying toward northern Wisconsin, but they had little time to examine the ground, coordinate with local officers, or build a careful plan. Nelson's immediate goal was simple: leave the lodge before the agents could close the trap. After dark, the federal cars approached with their headlights off and agents began spreading across unfamiliar ground. The lodge's dogs barked as 3 customers climbed into a car and started toward the highway. With the radio playing, the heater running, and the windows closed, the men apparently did not hear orders to stop. Agents mistook them for gangsters and opened fire, killing Civilian Conservation Corps worker Eugene Bossino and wounding John Morris and John Hoffman. The shots warned everybody inside. Nelson ran from his cottage toward the lodge while firing into the darkness. Agents fired back, but he reached the main building and slipped out behind it. Dillinger, Van Meter, and Hamilton moved away from the lodge in one direction, but Nelson fled south through the woods alone. His wife remained behind and would be captured. Nelson had escaped the immediate gunfire, but he was on foot in the cold northern darkness while federal agents searched the area. He reached the home of Paul and Minnie Lang and forced the couple to drive him away. The car soon failed near the home of Alvin Corner, the local telephone switchboard operator. Nelson entered with the Langes and took the Corner family hostage. More local men arrived and were detained as well. Nelson now had a full house of prisoners, but he did not have a reliable way out. Before Nelson entered the house, Corner had reported a suspicious car outside, back near Little Bohemia. Agents W. Carter Baum and J. Newman were sent to seek reinforcements and investigate reports of stolen or suspicious vehicles. Local constable Carl Kristensen joined them. Their search led to Corner's home, where Nelson was preparing to leave with local men forced into a car. When the officers drove up, Kristensen recognized the automobile as belonging to a resident. Nelson approached and asked the 3 men who they were. They identified themselves. Nelson drew an automatic pistol, ordered them out, and began firing. Newman was struck in the head and lost consciousness. Baum was killed. Kristensen was hit repeatedly and left gravely wounded. Nelson took the government car and escaped, but the vehicle later suffered a flat tire and became trapped in soft ground. He abandoned it and returned to the woods. He eventually appeared at the secluded home of Old Catfish, a member of the Lac du Flambeau band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, and held the family under threat for about 3 days. When their food was gone, Nelson made Catfish walk with him until they found another automobile. He stole it, drove west, released Catfish, and finally escaped the region. Back at Little Bohemia, Helen Gillis and the 2 other women were captured, but every male member of the gang had gotten away. The raid ended with 2 deaths, several wounded officers and civilians, and no arrested gunmen. Little Bohemia is usually remembered as the night John Dillinger escaped, but babyface Nelson left the bloodiest trail. The Bureau issued an identification order seeking him for Baum's murder and made his capture a priority. Several months later, Nelson killed 2 more federal agents during the gun battle that also ended his own life. His nickname and youthful appearance made him easy for newspapers to package as another colorful Depression-era outlaw, but the people left behind at Little Bohemia tell a different story. Civilians mistaken for criminals, families held at gunpoint, a constable nearly killed, and Carter and Baum never returning home. Nelson escaped Wisconsin, but he left Little Bohemia as something more dangerous than Dillinger's associate. He left as a killer the Bureau would not stop hunting. Thank you for taking the time to watch and like this video and for subscribing to the channel. If you would like to support the Eclectic Historical Society, you can join our Patreon and order merch from our website, eclectichistoricalsociety.com. With that being said, this is the Eclectic Historical Society, and remember, history is lost if it's not repeated.